YouTube has recently done some fascinating things, and I wanted to take a moment to address those right here, right now, in earnest. You've probably heard how YouTube's new monetization requirements cut off the ability of millions of channels from earning additional income by posting videos online. What you probably haven't heard is that YouTube could potentially be doing more of this in the future, cutting off more and more channels over time. We believe this is because they're intentionally moving to a structure where only about 10% of their channels create about 90% of their revenue. Obviously, this is going to have huge consequences. Most surprisingly, however, if YouTube continues to go down this path, cutting people off of monetization, I think they're doing it out of necessity. And here's why. To understand how this could possibly be happening, let's first go back and review YouTube's underlying economic model to understand what makes the whole site function in the first place. Basically, there are three players on YouTube that create a codependent ecosystem. There are viewers, there are creators, and there are advertisers. Creators make videos that are seen by viewers. Viewers watch advertisements, which are placed in front of videos by advertisers. Creators make a portion of those ad dollars paid by advertisers, and creators then use that money to make more videos that are seen by more viewers, and so on and so forth. It's cyclical, and the whole time, YouTube takes a portion of the revenue that's generated. So if any of these players begin to outweigh the others, the whole ecosystem begins to get out of whack, and it creates a spiraling effect that could affect the future of the site. Let's get into a little bit more detail here. Currently, there are 1.3 billion users on YouTube. Now in 2012, YouTube opened up the YouTube Partnership Program to every channel, meaning that anyone with an account, any user on the site, could potentially monetize their videos by just signing up for Google AdSense. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and assume that all 1.3 billion users are partaking in the partnership program, but even if just 1% of those channels are, that's 13 million partners. By comparison, back in 2012, YouTube had just 15,000 partners in the YouTube Partnership Program. So that's a growth from 2010 to 2018 of 866 times. On the same timeline, the total amount of ad revenue generated on YouTube has gone from roughly 1 billion to 10 billion. So why does this matter? Well, by comparison, the growth of the YouTube Partnership Program has outpaced the growth of ad revenue generated on YouTube by a ratio of 86 to 1. So while in strictly financial terms, $10 billion is a tremendous amount of money, it's crushed in comparison to the growth that the YouTube Partnership Program has had over the same period of time. What this means in straightforward terms is that per capita, there's less advertising revenue to go around than there was in the past, meaning that YouTube can't afford to pay its creators as much as it could in the past. Even though my numbers aren't exact, you can begin to understand the disproportional growth that's happened on the partnership side versus the ad revenue side. So you've got a basic problem. Too many partners, not enough ad revenue. Creators who are at the margins, i.e. creators who are working their butts off to try to do YouTube full time, are cut out. There's a huge amount of people and audience that are in this margin, and everyone below. And this is important because advertisers rely on returning viewers to maximize the value of the ads that they put on the site. The creators who are in that margin now make less videos because they're being forced off the site. This huge number of a returning audience is now returning to the site less and less and less and less. And advertisers want to spend less and less money on the site because the value that they get out of that returning audience is lowered. So you've got a compounding problem that's driving away returning viewers and making advertising dollars less and less valuable. But it gets even worse when a few additional factors are considered. First and foremost, YouTube's cultural impact. In case you haven't noticed, more and more people return to YouTube for daily entertainment than ever before. Humanity watches 1 billion hours of YouTube every single day, with average session times of 40 minutes or more. So like it or not, YouTube is now part of the public consciousness. And with that comes the expectation and the demand that the videos on the site are safe to watch. Advertisement on the site is now more carefully scrutinized than it ever has been before. So advertisers have to be more and more careful about what kind of content their ads are associated with. So if YouTube is unable to create what I'll call correct ad association on the site, which is in line with like society's expectation, they put both themselves and advertisers at risk. As we saw with the adpocalypse, it was in part spurred on by advertisements from large corporations being associated with highly inflammatory content on the site. This in turn sparked a wildfire of advertisers pulling out of the site until things cooled down enough for them to jump back into it. Because in general, large corporations avoid at all costs hot button issues and negative association. So we've got YouTube's unprecedented cultural impact in addition to a disruption in the underlying economic model. Well, there's one more factor that plays a part here, and most people don't know this. YouTube has never made a profit. While Google doesn't release official documents on exactly what it costs to run YouTube, they've never reported profit. They've only reported loss since they bought the site in late 2006. Now, go back and pair this with the other two issues that we were just talking about, the underlying economic model and the cultural impact. You introduce the problem of excess supply in the YouTube partnership program and the resulting loss in important returning audiences across the site and the downward spiral that creates. At a certain point, Google must be putting pressure on them to come up with a strategy that returns their investment and makes a sustainable future. After all, it is a business. So what steps would YouTube likely be taking to fix these mounting issues that could potentially threaten their entire site? Well, they're cutting the number of partners in the YouTube partnership program. That's what they're doing. If this new current round of monetization rules, which now take away the ability of millions of channels to monetize, don't work, they'll just keep cutting channels until there's a small enough body that makes the financials work. Even if they cut this down to just 10%, there'd still be 1.3 million channels in the YouTube partnership program. If YouTube cut this number of 13 million partners down to 1.3 million, average per capita revenue would go from $769 to $7,669. That would clearly be a positive for the channels left in the partnership program, and it would thereby further expand their reach and revenue. Obviously, this would be completely disastrous for anyone caught in the middle. Years of hard work, millions of viewers, and the creators who have risked everything to make it on the site, they would just be abandoned. And you undermine the philosophy that had made the site culturally significant in the first place, that hurts pretty bad. But would not doing so mean that YouTube couldn't exist? Well, I don't know if I would go that far, but I wouldn't say that it would be improbable. If YouTube again raises minimum monetization requirements to something like, say, now a minimum of 10K subs and 40K hours of watch time in the previous year, then we will know that they haven't quite found the balance that they're looking for. And they're gonna continue to do this until the numbers work. I have no idea how this is gonna affect Sam and Nico or Corridor Digital, if we're gonna get caught in the middle. I know that there will be thousands of people that will be caught in the middle here. And it's a really, really important issue. It's gonna affect a lot of viewers. It's gonna affect a lot of creators. It's gonna affect the whole site. Well, that's all I really have to say about this right now. If you have thoughts on it, please put them in the comments. I'll be going through, I'll be responding. If you'd like to see more videos like this where we dive into some of these deeper questions in social media generally, I really want to do one about how algorithms are having really, really insane unintended consequences on the way that we think, on opinions and ideas, sometimes even affecting extremist opinions and ideologies. So if you'd like to see something like that, consider subscribing, let us know, and we will see you in the future.